Like Sapphire, I think it's one of the top 15 exporters in Pakistan. Do you have the numbers in dollars like as to how much your exports is like for total Sapphire?
I've actually never done the math myself, but
Hmm.
between the 450 to 550 million mark होगी roughly.
दुनिया में बड़ी एग्जाम्पल पाई जाती है लाइक अंबानी लाइक जो इंडिया में राइट. अब आपने सुना होगा सब अब्बू दादा थे जिनने बिजनेस शुरू किया, दो भाई थे अनिल अंबानी और मुकेश अंबानी. वन फिर उनमें लड़ाई हो गई, उन लोगों ने फिर अपने बिजनेसेस डिवाइड कर लिए. वन ब्रदर जस्ट फ्लू अप एंड अदर जस्ट खत्म हो गए वो. ठीक है, फैमिली बिजनेस में क्या मुश्किलात आती हैं?
People will say, exports need devaluation. I actually don't think so. Right? I think given where Pakistan is, given the state of our economy today, and given the state of our capacities today, agar aaj, if it goes to 500 rupees, we're not going to double our exports. In fact, I don't think we'll increase our exports at all because we don't have that supply base over here. Our costs will go up as well. So just that volatility hasn't helped us at all. It's very important to keep in mind between India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh is that we're the same people. We've got the same culture. We've got the same mindset. It's very easy for us to collaborate and very easy to sort of work together to grow. We've done it for a long time. We are slightly less competitive in the fine count business today because we don't have access to Indian cotton. Right? So then we have to go for the Giza cottons of the world, the Pima cottons of the world, which makes it more expensive. And we compete less.
Oftentimes we see on media that our Prime Minister has called upon a meeting for all the businessmen. You guys also have some representation. So, क्या बात होती है? To solve these structural issues, you need like long-term policies, right? But for that, you have to make some unpopular decisions. And obviously, any government, like especially in the developing world, is unwilling to do that because of the fact that they lose the next election.
I think we're now at a point that fear is going away a little bit.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम अली, क्या हाल है आपका?
Welcome. All well. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much for giving us your precious time today. Before we start, मैं audience को बताना चाहूँगा कि आप है कौन. So Ali and his family, they run the Sapphire business in Pakistan. So जो पाकिस्तान से सुन रहे हैं और जो पाकिस्तानी है उसको I'm sure पता होगा Sapphire क्या है. So they're one of the biggest export companies in Pakistan. They have a big retail presence. So I'm sure सबको पता होगा जो सुन रहे हैं. तो आज हम डिस्कस करेंगे about what Sapphire is, like how to run such a big family business. इतना बड़ा empire कैसे run किया जाता है क्योंकि इतनी different generations अब आ गई हैं. I think it's in the third generation now, और I'm sure inshallah आगे भी continue होगा. We'll talk about the issues that Pakistan is currently facing, export issues, currency devaluation, competition from India, Bangladesh, Vietnam, and other countries as well, and a lot more. So please, end things जरूर देखिएगा. चलें अली, मैंने सब सही कहा, कुछ गलत तो नहीं कहा इंट्रो में?
All good.
Perfect. Yeah, Ali, I just want to start off with knowing more about you. तो अगर आप अपना थोड़ा बैकग्राउंड बता दें कि आपने कहाँ बड़े हुए, क्या पढ़ाई की और कब आपने ये बिजनेस ज्वाइन किया?
So I spent most of my childhood, no, all of my childhood in Lahore. Was born in Karachi, but I've never spent any time in Karachi and moved to Lahore very early on. I went to the Lahore American School, and I was there. I actually switched schools in the middle for a couple of years because I wasn't a very good student. So my fifth grade teacher called my parents and said, "Yeah, this guy is struggling. So can we please you need to intervene and do something." So my parents switched me to another school. Eighth grade, I came back to Lahore American School, and for me that transition in school was transformative. Right, so
Okay.
I started doing really well as a student and eventually ended up at McGill in Montreal.
Okay.
Which is where I wanted to be for a while. So I was happy to be there. At the time, I was struggling in the decision between whether I want to get into the business side of things, which is what my family did, and or venture into something different and get into computer engineering. And so the option was McGill for business or University of Toronto for computer engineering. And I picked McGill for business. It was, again, my first choice to be at, and it was also the path of least resistance. It's what the family understood. It's what I just at that age, I was young at the time. I was 17 when I made that decision, and I didn't want to do anything uncomfortable at the stage.
तो अली, अगर let's say अगर आप चूज करते हैं कि यार you wanted to take pursue computer engineering और उसी में आपको कुछ आगे करना है, तो फैमिली से क्या रिएक्शन मिलता है आपके हिसाब से?
family would have supported.
ठीक है, ओके।
So my father was supportive, but एक वो um, you get those small hints here and there.
हम्म,
This is मतलब, that's an uncharted territory for us as a family. So, do you really want to do that? And बहुत
okay,
मुश्किल है. And but it was very clear at the time that even and it was starting to become very clear that that's where the world is headed. And we didn't have
हम्म,
any AI at the time. We didn't have what we have today, but it was still very clear. But I suppose it was just picking with what I was
हम्म।
comfortable with at the time.
तो अली आप किस ईयर में ग्रेजुएट हुए?
I graduated from school in 2009, from McGill in 2013.
2013, right? So it's been about 13 years. So do you think joining the family business was the right decision? Or do you regret it?
I'll tell you in another 10 years.
ठीक है। अच्छा, ठीक है। तो फिर you joined the family business, ठीक है। So when you joined the family business, so I'm sure, अब हम obviously इसका थोड़ा structure भी समझेंगे, but let's say when you joined the family business, did you get that executive role right away, और या ये था कि नहीं, सीख के आहिस्ता आहिस्ता ऊपर आना है?
So it was a little bit of both. So the way it worked for me is that I came back in 2000, and when I came back in 2013 July, um, uh, I was very unsure of what I want to do forward. Right. Eventually, the plan was to join the family business, but what the path was unclear. Right. There were one option was exactly that, to just jump in straight away. The other one was that I come in for a couple of years, get some experience, and then go back out, do my masters, and then come back. And so I joined the business with the intention of not staying for more than 2 years when it started out. So it wasn't an executive role at all. It was more of a learning role. I
Okay.
had a small cubicle in which I sat in,
हम्म,
right at the entrance. So I was also a pseudo receptionist, because
हम्म,
everybody, बिल्कुल मेरा entrance पे cubicle था. We didn't have a receptionist, so anybody used to enter the
हम्म,
office used to come to me कि मैंने इससे मिलना है. ये किधर मिलेगा? And I usually didn't know, because मुझे 4 दिन हुए थे
yeah,
ज्वाइन किए हुए, so मुझे कोई पता ही नहीं था कौन किधर बैठता है.
yeah.
So yeah, just a small funny.
But did you ever complain कि यार मुझे ऑफिस क्यों नहीं मिली शुरू में ही?
Not really, because I was supposed to be there only for 2 years. Number one,
हम्म,
number two, I sort of knew that, or at least मेरा भी mindset ये था कि these people have been here for a lot longer than I have. So what gives me the right to come above them?
हम्म,
And so I sort of need to earn my way there a little bit, right? And but at the same time, you can't. They know that I'm from the family. They know
हम्म,
that I'm eventually going to get there, but they need to understand me as well, and I need to understand them, and they need to understand my abilities as well.
अमेजिंग। अच्छा, अगर अली आप एक अपने इस फैमिली बिजनेस का थोड़ा स्ट्रक्चर समझाते हैं, बिकॉज बेस्ड ऑन माय रिसर्च, एंड प्लीज करेक्ट मी इफ आई एम रॉन्ग, सो इट वाज योर दादा हु स्टार्टेड इट, और फिर ऑब्वियसली योर डैड एंड योर सिबलिंग एंड हिज सिबलिंग्स, और फिर अभी आपकी जनरेशन में आ गया थर्ड जनरेशन। सो इफ करेक्ट मी इफ आई एम रॉन्ग, इज दिस द थर्ड जनरेशन इन दिस बिजनेस राइट नाउ?
Yes, it is the
ठीक है।
third generation. So the business was started in 70s in its current name, and in the 70s, actually a little bit before, by my
हम्म,
grandfather in Dhaka.
इन ढाका, ओके।
And it was started in Dhaka, and then when the war broke out, my grandfather just packed up, moved to Pakistan, and started
हम्म,
Sapphire in the current form today. So Sapphire itself was started in Pakistan,
इन पाकिस्तान
and in
आफ्टर द
Pakistan
1971 वॉर।
after the 71 war.
एंड
It
डिड यू एवर टॉक टू योर दादा कि व्हाई this name? Why Sapphire? कभी इस नाम के पीछे कोई लॉजिक है? Was it just the diamond या just the stone? या बस
it
ऐसे ही बस
was
नाम है तेरा?
never actually asked him. It's a good
अच्छा।
question. I should ask him, but I never actually asked him.
ठीक
But
है,
yeah,
ओके।
so we started off with yarn spinning,
हम्म,
and at that time, and even Pakistan had a lot of good cotton, and we sort of integrated. My grandfather decided to use that cotton to uh, sell yarn across the world, and developed a good niche. selling all over, and grew and grew and grew. And then in the
Mm.
90s, we got into grayish fabric weaving for fashion and for home textiles, and then integrated that forward into finished fabrics. And then 2017, 18, maybe got into garments, into ready-made garments, and that's
Mm.
that's the part of the business that I'm responsible for.
Acha, okay.
We have
So,
some other side
mm-hmm,
businesses as well. Just to sort of add,
mm-hmm,
we have a small dairy farm,
okay.
and some energy businesses,
Mm-hmm.
and a retail arm as well.
And is that all
For
under the same name?
all under the same name, all under the same structure.
Okay.
Third generation, and it's yeah,
Okay.
third
तो
generation
ये
driving it forward.
तो ये डिसाइड कैसे होता है? अब जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल योर दादा एंड देन आपके योर डैड एंड आई एम श्योर हिज ब्रदर्स, कितने सिबलिंग्स हैं वो लोग?
4 siblings, 5 siblings,
फोर
but 4 brothers who are in the
फोर
business.
ब्रदर्स, ठीक है. सो एज्यूम, सो बेसिकली फोर ब्रदर्स एंड देन उनके बच्चे, उनके सन्स वो आहिस्ता आहिस्ता संभाल रहे हैं. Does it ever get complicated? Because so basically मैं आपको एग्जांपल देता हूँ. So basically एक बड़ी दुनिया में बड़ी एग्जांपल पाई जाती है, लाइक अंबानीज, लाइक जो इंडिया में, राइट? अब आपने सुना होगा सब, अब्बू दादा थे जिनने बिजनेस शुरू किया, दो भाई थे, अनिल अंबानी और मुकेश अंबानी. वन, फिर उनमें लड़ाई हो गई, उन लोगों ने फिर अपने बिजनेसेस डिवाइड कर लिए, वन ब्रदर जस्ट फ्लू अप एंड अदर जस्ट यू नो खत्म हो गए वो, ठीक है. तो ऑब्वियसली ये बहुत ही एक्सट्रीम एग्जांपल है, अल्लाह ना करे ऐसा कभी इधर हो, बट लाइक फैमिली बिजनेस में क्या मुश्किलात आती हैं, और हाउ डू यू गाइस डिसाइड कि यार इसने ये करना है, इसने ये करना है? और आई एम श्योर थोड़ी लड़ाई भी होती होंगी कि यार अब जैसे आप गए हो और आपकी एज का कोई और लेट्स से कजन भी हो, यार इसको ये क्यों दे दिया, मुझे क्यों नहीं दिया, तो इस तरह की कॉम्प्लिकेशंस आती हैं, और किस तरह से ये चीजें होती हैं सही?
Many ways a family business can be structured.
हम्म.
Ours is structured in a fairly unique way. I feel I've not really
ओके.
seen many businesses like this, but
ओके.
the big picture, the way it sort of worked out is that each of the 4 brothers is the CEO of their own company,
ओके.
right? And what they do within that company is discussed, but fundamentally at the end of the day, their own decision,
ठीक है.
right? So the brothers can advise, can recommend, can critique. There's a board. The numbers are discussed. The strategy is discussed. But at the end of the day, because each brother is the CEO of his own company, he can make his own decisions. So
हम्म.
when that brothers, or when I joined the business, I just went into the company that my father is responsible for. Right? And
ओके.
what that achieves is that you are able to eliminate dispute, or eliminate is a big word. You're in a family business, so you're able to reduce dispute, because fundamentally there's, instead of having 5 decision makers, you now have one key decision maker who
हम्म.
executes, right? And when I speak to my father today, and he's like, there's many decisions, or a couple of big monumental decisions that we've made, that he's made in the past, that the family disagreed with, but he went forward with it, and he was able to go forward with, because he was the sole decision maker, and they worked out well for him.
But Lali, like, let's say what happens in that case, let's say Sapphire, उसके अंदर let's say four different companies है, independently run, but same board of directors है, इस तरह structure करते हैं. But what happens if one company is not doing well at all because of whatever the decisions are being made? In that case, क्या होता है फिर?
So we have alhamdulillah not come to that bridge yet.
Okay.
That's not something that's happened, but it has been generally the family is quite supportive of what we do. We disagree, we critique, but we then at the end of the day work together. But at the same time, we also do compete with each other. We work together, we compete with each other, and it works. It works for us. It drives us forward.
Hmm. And Ali, compete in what sense? Is it like selling the same things or doing the same stuff, or compete in terms of performance?
Compete in terms of selling the same things,
Okay.
sometimes to the same customers even. But
अच्छा.
then at the
Okay.
end, everybody, because each of us have our own unique strategy,
Mm-hmm.
the way it works out in the medium term not even the medium term, in the short term even, right? Bilkul matlab, is that even on the same customers, I'll speak to my cousins very regularly on what my strategy is, what they're doing. I'll help them out, they'll help me out. तो वो थोड़ा एक वो it's a bit of a collaborative competition, and it helps us both drive forward because our interests are aligned, our financial
हंड्रेड
interests are aligned at the end of the day.
100%। तो ये जो फोर मैं इसको बोलता हूँ फोर वर्टिकल्स, ये क्या है? चार डिफरेंट कंपनीज में क्या क्या आते हैं उनके अम्ब्रेला में अंदर, और आपकी
So
कंपनी के
so
स्पेसिफिकली अंदर क्या आता है?
So जो चार different companies में the first company is yarn spinning, denim fabric,
हम्म।
knitted fabrics, denim garments. Now they've recently started, and natural gas based power.
ओके।
The second company is yarn spinning, grayish fabric weaving for primarily for bed sheets,
हम्म।
stitching. So the final product for bed sheets, and the retail and wind power.
हम्म।
The third is the one that I'm in, the
ओके।
one that I'm responsible for. We look after my father, and then my father, me, and my brothers look after spinning, uh, weaving for mainly for fashion, uh, denim, a little bit of non-denim. We do garments for fashion, and the dairy farm.
द डेयरी फार्म
And
एज वेल,
we're
ओके।
the dairy farm, and we're just getting into the meat business as well, but that's fairly new. And
ओके।
the fourth vertical, which is the youngest brother, it's fashion, so mainly non-denim,
हम्म।
and also non-denim garments.
Hmm. Okay. Interesting. And Ali, you mentioned that like your specific company is also in dairy, milk, and going into meat. So dairy and meat, is this like packaged meat? Yeah, just Pakistan बोलते खुला दूध और खुला वो जो meat है. Like how does that work?
It's primarily meat for export,
Okay.
right? So meat, the meat business has two different aspects to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's growing the animal and then slaughtering the animal. Where what we've sort of discovered over the last couple of years is that growing the animal is where the real quality comes in, and
Uh-huh.
and and growing the animal is what our expertise is, because we've been dealing with cattle for almost 20 years now, and वो
Mm-hmm.
हमने एक अपनी एक expertise build कर ली थी है.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we feel it's a good business, related business to get into from a
Yeah,
manufacturing point of view.
correct. But Ali, जैसे मुझे एनर्जी का जो बिजनेस है वो समझ आता है, बिकॉज इट्स समहाउ यू कैन रिलेट दैट टू टेक्सटाइल, लाइक वट एवर यूर नोन फॉर, बट दिस इज कम्प्लीटली डिफरेंट। ये कैसे, लाइक व्हाई, ये किसका थॉट प्रोसेस था? और क्योंकि कोई सिनर्जीज मुझे अभी तो मुझे नहीं दिख रही कि यार टेक्सटाइल में, और बिकॉज दिस इज कम्प्लीटली डिफरेंट, राइट? तो व्हाई मीट एंड डेयरी?
Meat and dairy, it actually started. Meat came because of dairy. So the dairy
करेक्ट,
business
ओके।
actually came about in 2007. 2007,
अच्छा।
when the way I wasn't part of the business.
ओके।
So what the way my father tells how he got into it is that at the time Nestle in Pakistan was seeing, or the managing director of Nestle in Pakistan was seeing a little bit of struggle in collecting high quality milk in Pakistan, right?
ओके।
And so he sort of prepared a business plan, and he went out to several large businesses, a lot of them in textile, and sort of sold them on the dairy business, and he actually convinced us to get into this dairy business. So we started off by importing 300 animals from Australia, and then grew that, and today we're at about 4,000, no more today. We are about 5,000 cows, mostly Pakistani born now.
ओके।
We've enhanced the breeds, but we still from time to time import from Europe. In fact, we had 600, no, yeah, about 600 animals come in a couple of weeks ago as well, from the Netherlands. So that's still a
अच्छा।
growing business. Why dairy? Why this business? Coming back to your question, diversification play seemed like a good investment at the time, because somebody came with a business. somebody came with an opportunity, and at the time, my father felt that there was a good diversification opportunity from textile.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Unrelated business completely, right?
Yeah.
But on the softer side, we deal with liters and meters.
Yeah.
Right? So whenever me and my father are speaking about the business, we just keep on the dinner table. We keep mixing liters and meters quite a bit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Correct. Correct.
that's the small subtle relation.
I really like that. Liters and meters. बड़ी अच्छी बात है वैसे. Nice. So, do you personally invest your time in that business? Yeah, are you just focused on textile right now?
The way the business is sort of been set up, not
Mm-hmm.
by not by we didn't intend for this to happen, but the way it's happened over time is that my father mainly looks after the dairy side of the operation, and me and my brothers are more involved in textile.
Oh, अच्छा,
And
okay.
then
So,
and
और
then I'm
बोलिए जी.
involved in
Okay.
dairy from a board point of view, and he's involved in textile also from a board point of view, but a little bit more than that.
Mm-hmm.
But so we sort of so we're the outside eyes of the dairy, and he's the outside eyes of the textile. I'm not involved
Mm.
day to day in the dairy, but we speak about it every day
And
from
Ali,
a
you said
strategic
that,
perspective.
yeah, dairy started in 2007, but how come? Is that still a growing business, or was that not a primary focus then and now it is now? Because no one knows about, at least I don't know, or based on my research, Sapphire Dairy का नाम मुझे नहीं दिखा. Why is that?
Sapphire Dairy is primarily a B2B
ठीक है.
business. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's about 70,000-80,000 liters of milk a day. It primarily goes to Nestle.
अच्छा,
Uh,
okay.
so one buyer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And which is why it's not really marketed. We do have a processing arm of it as well, where we package the milk and we sell it in the market. But that's a very 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 small portion of the business and more of a long term play. So
Mm-hmm.
we're not really a consumer name.
Oh.
Which is why you may not have heard of it, and many people may not have heard of it. But it's becoming a more and more important part of our business. It is, we are growing it, we are investing in it because we feel that it is not having to rely on imported raw materials, right? Having to basically focus on local agriculture as our
Mm-hmm.
as our base or as our inputs is where Pakistan will thrive in the future,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then one of the reasons to integrate that with meat is because we feel that Pakistan needs exports.
Mm-hmm.
And well, it's not something we feel, it's obvious that Pakistan
Mm-hmm.
needs exports, and then sort of integrating that local raw material, that local agriculture with Pakistan's export needs, so aligning our business interests with the country's business interests, we feel is the way forward and was the way forward for that business. And I think that's what will help it
Mm-hmm.
continue growing. So it's a very important part of the business today.
Interesting. Perfect. Uh, so Ali, Sapphire, I think it's one of the top 15 exporters in Pakistan. Do you have the numbers in dollars, like as to how much your exports is, like for total Sapphire? Can you share that with us?
So Sapphire, because it's split into four different verticals. So when you look
Mm-hmm.
at the exporter sheet, तो आपको वो चार different heads में आपको नजर आएगी.
ठीक है.
But roughly speaking, if you were to combine them, we would be close to the between. So I've actually never done the math myself, but
Hmm.
between the 450 to 550 million mark hogi roughly, right? Which would put us in the top 3-4 maybe.
अच्छा ये बताएं सर, why why are companies in Pakistan afraid of going public? अब let's say so in the West, right? अब because to grow, ठीक है, to create that global presence, you need funding. ठीक है, you need funding from the public. It's like the easiest way to go to have an IPO and go public. ठीक है. Why does Sapphire and so many other like textile companies and other companies in Pakistan, जो बहुत बड़ी companies भी हैं, like Pakistan में, why are companies afraid of going public? Stock exchange में क्यों नहीं list होना चाहती companies?
I think it's a couple of things, right? So I think
Mm-hmm.
it's uh, first and foremost, I think it's just the capital markets aren't as well developed, right? I think that's changing. That has changed over the last 5-7 years. At least we're also
Mm-hmm.
seeing a change, and we're seeing more and more companies that want to come in as well.
Yeah.
right? But I think so. I think that's a reason that's changing. But then I think the other big reason is a little bit of lack of understanding of it and a little bit of lack of trust around it, right? And losing and the fear of losing control,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the family businesses here, they've stayed in the family for a long time, and then everybody, there's just that little bit of discomfort at the back of everybody's minds for those
Mm-hmm.
who don't do it. Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
if I have outside today I make my own decisions, but when I have outside shareholders, um, what do we do? How will it impact them? Now,
Mm-hmm.
Sapphire, two of our companies, Sapphire Fibers and Sapphire Textiles, are listed on the stock market, but उनका को float बहुत बड़ा नहीं है, right? And
ठीक
they
है.
are very closely held and वो पक्के हाथों में, right? So it's in firm hands. So which is
Mm-hmm.
why it's not really traded, right? I feel, right, that, and we discuss this very often, is that
Mm-hmm.
ultimately that has to be the path forward, and we discuss that very often for the dairy business. Uh, as well, because it's a smaller business and slightly easier to do, and also slightly easier to sort of sell as a business, right? Because fundamentally, what
Mm-hmm.
we're doing in an IPO is selling our business, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the story is a little bit, given Pakistan's environment today and business climate today. I think we're coming to the point where textile is becoming a harder and harder sell.
Interesting. Ali, आपने कहा कि Pakistan's business climate today. Can you just elaborate on that?
I think we live in a very interesting time when it comes to Pakistan's business climate. Um, I always like to say, and I always like to believe that whenever there is uncertainty, there is opportunity. And Pakistan's been through that uncertain phase for those last for whenever for however long I've been involved, or I've been following it, right? And that's where the opportunity comes out of, right? And that's what we try to exploit, right? And but then it's getting tougher and tougher to navigate. Getting into specifics, we look at one of our largest inputs is energy.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of energy price uncertainty, right? Some because of what we do, right? Because as a country, incoherent policy, short-term thinking as opposed to long-term thinking, not investing in the distribution network, because it's not just about availability of energy; it's also about reliability of energy, and energy being a very large component for textiles. I feel that we are becoming less and less competitive on that front. Then from an exchange point of view, from an exchange rate point of view, this massive devaluation that we've had over the last few years has been. A lot of people will say, exports need devaluation. I actually don't think so. Right? I think given where Pakistan is, given the state of our economy today, and given the state of our capacities today, अगर आज 280 से 500 रुपए का हो जाएगा, if it goes to 500 rupees, we're not going to double our exports. In fact, I don't think we'll increase our exports at all because we don't have that supply base over here. Our costs will go up as well. So just that volatility hasn't helped us at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's that lack of stability that's hurt us and is continuing to hurt us. And then I think the and I'm only talking big picture right now, but I think the last thing that sort of hurts us a little bit is uncertainty in government policy in terms of what we're looking for, right? Uh, do we want to, as a country, do we want to grow textile? Right, as a country, we look at textile is our largest export today, right? It's probably the lowest hanging fruit in terms of increasing our export. We probably should be investing in IT exports, but if you double your IT exports, if you triple your IT exports, it still won't have the same impact in absolute terms than textile will have. And so I feel, given our tax policies, Pakistan has one of the highest effective tax rates in the world when it comes to textile. Not just textile, but when it comes to any manufacturing. So,
Mm-hmm.
so, so given that, how um, how incentivized our businesses to continue to grow in Pakistan. We feel that but when we look at our effective tax rates, we're looking at 60-70%. Up 60-70% of our profits when they go to the government. Right? How do businesses grow? How do we help the country out
Hmm.
in getting more dollars?
And at the same time, your costs are also going up. Like let's say minimum wage ऊपर जा रहा है, energy cost जो आपने बात की वो ऊपर जा रही है. Correct. Yeah.
You see, minimum wage is a very tricky subject, a very
Hmm.
very very tricky subject, right? Because when we get into the garment business, where the largest cost is fabric and then people. Right?
Hmm.
I see the garment business as a very good way of. It takes 3 months to train a worker, a less educated worker, to come in, learn how to stitch a garment, and export it. When we
Hmm.
export a garment, what we're fundamentally selling is time. Right? We're selling the fabric, we're selling the cotton, we're selling that energy, but a lot of that has imported components to it. A
Hmm.
lot of Pakistan's cotton today is imported. A lot of our energy is imported. A lot of our chemicals are imported. So the fabric majority component is now imported. So
Hmm.
when it comes to the garment industry, the beauty behind it is that we are exporting people, right? And we are exporting unskilled people who are very easy to skill up, right? And um, we want to export more of those. Right? We want to export more garments because it's a really low hanging fruit. Pakistan's not very big when it comes to garment making, and so compared to say Bangladesh, for example,
Hmm.
and the struggle is that the more expensive we make these people, the less competitive we become compared to Bangladesh, right? And
Hmm.
and and then why will someone buy from Pakistan when they can buy for cheaper from Bangladesh? It's a competitive world out there. But
Hmm.
then at the same time, it's important to keep in mind that given the massive deval we faced in Pakistan over the last few years, the cost of living has also gone up.
Hmm.
Right? So we need to balance that as well. So it's
Hmm.
about finding that balance. But sometimes I feel, and obviously I have a little bit of a bias here, but sometimes I feel that our policymakers become too election and populist focused as
Hmm.
opposed to looking at the long term interests of the country. Fundamentally, it comes down to, do we want more people, right, to have jobs at a lower wage, or do we want less people to make more money?
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Can we have, for garment making, energy is a very small component. Cotton becomes a smaller component. It's the real fundamental cost is people. Pakistan's minimum wage is what, $130-$140 without adding the benefits and all. Bangladesh is at $90, right? And
Hmm.
they've been very very stubborn at keeping that wage there. Right? It's a sensitive subject, right? At the same time, we can't just look at it from a cost perspective because there's people at the other end of it. And then there's people who need to support their families at the other end of it.
But Ali, oftentimes we see on media that our Prime Minister has called upon a meeting for all the businessmen. And I'm sure you guys also have some representation. तो उसमें क्या बात होती है उस meeting में?
उसमें it's
सच सच
I
बताना
think I
पड़ेगा
think
आज.
I think so I've never obviously been in those
Yeah.
meetings myself, but I know of people who have.
Hmm.
My father has been in them, my uncles have been in them. Um, uh, I think again they're trying to look for a short term solution where they're saying कि,
Hmm.
what do we do today कि हमारे एक साल में exports बढ़ जाए, अगले साल exports बढ़ जाए, right? And the problem is that because of those short term measures that we started taking since in 2010, 11, 12, जब से हमारा ये energy crisis शुरू हुआ है, we've never looked at a long term solution. We've never looked at fundamentally solving the issue. So really, frankly, uh, not. I think there's too many stakeholders at the table with competing interests to help drive the country forward. At the end of the day, if you look at when we walk back, you spoke about the family business structure and the way my grandfather structured it. There's one person at the on the CEO seat, and he makes the decisions to drive it forward, right or wrong. There's one
Hmm.
decision maker, and he's driving it forward. I feel that there's just too many people sitting on the table when there's too many when you don't hear this happening in the developed world के सारे business holders के लिए जो stakeholders की meeting call की गई है and everybody's coming and everybody's helping make decisions. It doesn't work like that. You
Yeah.
listen, but then at the end of the day, you can't make a committee to help increase Pakistan's exports. It has to be driven by the government. They need to listen to everybody and listen to businesses of different sizes. And it's obvious what our problems are. But I don't think it's a secret कि हमें एनर्जी कॉस्ट अपनी कम करने की जरूरत है, हमें एक्सचेंज स्टेबिलिटी लाने की जरूरत है, हमें अपनी कॉस्ट ऑफ बोरोइंग कम करने की जरूरत है, हमें अपनी कैपिटल मार्केट्स इंप्रूव करने की जरूरत है. You spoke about IPOs in the past, but Pakistan doesn't have a developed bond market.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so in the developed world we're looking at both, right? In general, right, if you take a big step back, access to capital in Pakistan is restricted to the few big companies, right? And that just makes growth harder. You can't just let the few big companies grow.
Mm-hmm.
The SMEs need to drive the economy. That's who drives the economy all over the world. But जब तक वो access to capital नहीं होगा, वो कैसे करेंगे?
Yeah, but Ali, what do you think about the fact that in the last 2-3 years, currency has been fairly at the same level, right? 280, 270, 290 के बीच में हम लोग घूम रहे हैं, right? At the same time, cost of borrowing also come down. It was at 1.22%. I think it's like around about 10, 12% right now. So what do you think about that?
I think that stability has massively helped.
Okay.
Right. What doesn't help, right, is that little bit of what we feel. Now, I can be wrong here, right, because everybody we speak to from a government perspective says that this is natural movement of the rupee. But what we feel is that there's still some artificial play in it. Right. So what
And I
doesn't
think,
help
sorry,
is
Ali, just interrupting you because this government is actually popular for holding the exchange rate as well, right? So I think आपका वही मतलब है कहने का.
नहीं, मेरा मतलब है कि 285 का हुआ, उसे when it comes back to 278 and then it pops back up to 285 and then comes back down to 278. That's happened a couple of times now, right?
Yeah.
So that hurts planning a little bit. When you're dealing with economic fundamentals, supply demand, you can research it and you can predict it and you can plan for it. As businesses, then you make a decision. Right? I feel the supply demand dynamics will go in this direction, so this is how I'm going to hedge my currency, or not hedge my currency. Not hedging is also a decision we make. So you can sort of make a plan. When there is artificial intervention at play, right? Then you start playing. Then it becomes less about supply demand fundamentals. It comes down to what do I think that person will do, and it makes it very difficult to predict because then you get into predicting human behavior. Now, we've bet on this government keeping it stable. It's worked out well for us so far. But again, I don't know what will happen 3 months later because I don't think the fundamentals support it long term. I personally am a proponent of a stable rupee, right? But a stable rupee doesn't mean a flat rupee. Look, economics says कि यार जो आपका interest rate differential से आपका devaluation होनी चाहिए. Right? That's the natural devaluation. If you look at the software, 3.5-4% पे होगा. We're at 12% today, I think. So we're looking at about an 8% deval should happen. At the end of the day, I don't think we can defy the laws of economics. I don't think we can defy the laws of gravity, and this will adjust. And when it adjusts, that 8% a year, and even if it's not 8% a year, even if you do 3-4% a year, if we don't do that, eventually we'll see what happened. वो जो 220 से 280 एकदम से overnight हुआ था या 320 पे भी गया था, that will happen again because we're not letting gravity do its job. We're sort of artificially manipulating, and then at the end it'll just blow up in our faces. So I don't think. So I like a stable rupee. I prefer a stable rupee. I don't think massive devaluation will help us long term. I just think that this will hurt us in the long term. You see what. When we were having 8 to 10% devaluation a year, minimum wage used to go up by 10%. Devaluation used to happen by 10%, and dollarized, everything was adjusted. But now we're at a point where the costs are still going up at those 8-10% every year. But the rupee is not. So dollarized, we are becoming that 8 to 10% more expensive every year. And how do we expect to compete with Bangladesh that has a more or less stable currency? Everybody's had a little bit of devaluation over the last few years, but who have a more or less stable currency, dollarized, they are becoming more and more competitive. So we're relying on our know-how, we're relying on our skill, and we're still able to use that. We have really good know-how when it comes to making fabrics. We still have really good cotton, less of it, but really good cotton. We have really good people, really skilled people. We're able to apply beautiful finishes to the garments, denim garments that we export, and when it comes to that, we're able to create a really good value package, which is why
Mm.
a lot of buyers come to Pakistan. We have some of the world's largest denim brands buying out of Pakistan. But then, how long will they continue paying us a little bit more for our know-how when that differential will keep going up?
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. But uh, Ali, do you, on a personal level, like not at a corporate level, just on a personal level, do you think this current regime that we have, do you trust their ability to solve the issues that you just mentioned?
I think their hearts are in the right place. I think they want to solve them. Right? I just think that they're a little bit. There's a lot of red tape in the middle that they need to deal with themselves. Right? I think there's it's too big a team to try and steer us out of it. I think that वो नियत है, intention है, but अभी तक implementation and know-how नहीं.
But Ali, ये भी है ना कि you mentioned कि बड़े short-sighted decisions होते हैं, and for that, to solve these structural issues, you need like long-term policies, right? But for that, you have to make some unpopular decisions, and obviously, any government, like especially in the developing world, is unwilling to do that because of the fact that they lose the next election, sadly. So ये भी एक issue है,
And
right?
and I think we're now at a point, right, that fear is going away a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
given how Pakistan's political climate has been over the last couple of years. I don't think that election fear exists anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Without speaking about it too much, I'm sure you and a lot of the people listening know exactly what I'm saying. But I don't think it's that. So I think I genuinely feel that they have the right idea, they have the right intention, but they're still struggling a little bit to figure out exactly how to do it. Right? I think there's just a few things that they've hung on to. For example, the stable rupee. Right? A stable rupee doesn't mean कि वो 278 पे है तो वो 278 पे ही रहना है.
Mm-hmm.
278, 3, 4, 5% devaluation a year is still stable, given the state of our economy, right? 280 to 350 or 220 to 320, what happened in the span of 2 months, that's not stable, right?
Correct.
And वो अभी तक I think it's so intention is there. They they want to fix it. They want to do it. They're just not able to figure out how to do it, and they just keep flip flopping on their strategy. Fundamentally, I think energy cost is a key part of it, and I think that's our biggest struggle. And what a lot of companies in Pakistan, us included, are doing are trying to just go off grid.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we keep our competitive edge. Competitive edge, sorry. So we invest in solar, we invest in turbines, ये जो biomass based turbines, and sort of not rely on the government, and that starts to become even more dangerous for the government. So we're getting to a point where they they're trying to incentivize people to come on grid so that they can lower their cost, but because they're not acting fast enough, people are moving in the opposite direction. I like to believe that markets are very efficient. Everybody will look after their own interests and find a way. And today, uh, everybody, all businesses, us included, if are finding their own ways around energy. A lot of people I know in Sindh are investing in wind turbines for their businesses. Everybody's investing in solar.
And Ali,
Punjab, because we have
these are all sustainable energy sort of solutions as well. So eventually, ये तो और हमें double benefit दे रहा
I think that's been a consequence of
है.
this, a positive consequence of
Yeah.
this energy crisis in Pakistan. That I think we're one of the countries where solar adoption has been the highest. about a year back, I was landing from Karachi into Lahore, and I looked out. And if you look out the plane and you look at the rooftops, right, our runways actually right in the middle of houses.
Yeah,
So आप जब
it's
वो
all solar.
देखते हैं,
It's all
yeah, it's
solar.
all solar. I took a picture, and
Yeah,
it's a really cool picture because I couldn't find a household without solar on the rooftop, and that's great.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
from a environmental perspective, it's brilliant.
But
But at the
sadly, the
same
policy
time,
has now changed. Policy has now the government wants us to not install solar in our homes.
and but वही बात है ना कि why couldn't have they, well, they couldn't have, but why couldn't they have taken a sort of a decision to earlier decisions to keep energy costs lower so that people wouldn't have to do this? Um, would it not have made sense to have a larger solar farm or a larger wind farm and then supply to homes as opposed to having these individualized, paneled, inefficient power plants? So everybody is looking after, and जब वो overhead cost जो government की है, that remains, right?
Ali,
Because
the
less
issue
and
is
less people
now.
are buying off the grid.
Yeah, Ali, the issue is right. So basically, Pakistan may not just this government. It's been an overall issue. के we make a decision because we think यार this is the best one, and then after a few years we're like यार कहाँ फंस गए. ठीक है, अभी आप जैसे गवर्नमेंट अभी सोलर एनर्जी में फंस गई कि यार डिसीजन ले लिया सबने सोलर लगा लिया, हम फंस गए. आईपीपीस का जो हमारा जो इशू हुआ हुआ है वहां पर लोग फंस गए. ठीक है, तो यही ना कि जोक चलता है कि हमने एक रोड बना दी है, फिर हमें याद आता है हमने तार तो डाला ही नहीं है. ठीक है, तो फिर वहां पे पूरी रोड टूट जाती है. तो ये आई थिंक ये पाकिस्तान के फंडामेंटल इशू ही है, नॉट जस्ट दिस करंट गवर्नमेंट बट ओवरऑल ही सबका इशू है साइडली.
Lack of long-term planning, right?
या.
Lack of so if I were advising the policymakers today, I'd very simply say here, we don't like textiles, right? As a country, that's the feeling we get as textile makers, that the government doesn't really want textiles, right? And it's been true for many countries in the world. If you look at the US also, right? वहाँ textile से grow किया, and then they eventually graduated from textiles. Even if you take it at a company level, you look at one of the world's largest companies today, Berkshire Hathaway. It started off as textiles, and then it used textiles as its base, diversified out of textiles, and got into other businesses. So Pakistan needs to do exactly that. Use textiles as a base. What I feel our government thinks is that textiles is done. Right? कि वो base अब खत्म हो गई. But I don't think so.
और ऐसा
I
क्यों
think
सोचते होंगे,
textiles.
ऐसा क्यों सोचते हैं?
I think it's because as a country, Pakistan hasn't really value added in textiles. We've predominantly remained in yarn
हम्म.
spinning. तो वो textile में उस level की growth आई नहीं,
ठीक है.
right? जो आ सकती है. So if you look at Bangladesh, there'd be hundreds of medium to large size garment factories. And if you look at Pakistan today, there's probably 8 or 9. And if I look at my competitors, I can only count my proper competitors. There's probably 7 or 8 who compete with me. And then as you go larger, वो कम हो जाते हैं. But in Bangladesh, you go, there's hundreds of those. Right? There's way too many. And Bangladesh doesn't have its own cotton.
हम्म.
So they're importing the raw material, and they're exporting time, they're exporting people based on that, based on an imported business model, right? Imported raw material. And so I feel that what we really need to do is have a short, medium, long term approach where we say in the short and medium term, let's increase textile exports, and our incentives shouldn't be focused around the spinning industry, need to be focused on the garment making, the ready-made garment industry. But then those need to taper off. 10 to 15 years later, we shouldn't be relying on garments. And in the background, we spend these 10 to 15 years spending on developing our IT industry, developing our agri-based export industry. All of that will take us 10 to 15 years. But that doesn't mean कि यार वो 15 साल लगेंगे agriculture को grow करते हुए, 15 साल लगेंगे IT को export करते हुए. So these 15 years we're going to remain flat. We're going to disincentivize textile. We're going to charge textile a 70% tax rate ताकि 15 साल बाद वो खत्म हो जाए. We don't want to lose that. We want to keep that. So I feel that's where there's that misalignment. I think textile historically has asked for a lot of incentives. The government has given them incentives, but and they haven't really delivered as an industry. But the reason they haven't delivered is because a lot of those incentives have been geared towards the non-value added spinning industry. Right? So
Yeah.
उसका मसला ये है कि वो उस level पे garment hasn't grown. And the real value add, if I sell yarn, I'm selling for £1 $1 a pound, let's say, roughly. When I'm
Hmm.
selling a garment, I'm selling it for $8, $9, $10.
Yeah.
Right? Europe
Correct.
is becoming less and less competitive. North Africa is becoming less and less competitive in making garments. So we're seeing
Hmm.
more and more people coming to Pakistan and wanting to buy. Right? We're adding new customers from all over the world who've never bought from Pakistan every year. And so there's more and more people interested in buying from Pakistan. But then the conversation always starts coming up that why are you more expensive than Bangladesh?
Hmm. And Ali, you
And that's
mentioned
becoming harder
Bangladesh
to
quite a
justify.
yeah, you have mentioned Bangladesh quite a few times, and obviously when we go abroad and shop, like let's say Zara, Levi, second हम जाएं, so we see like a lot of Pakistan, made in Bangladesh, made in India, right? And made in Vietnam as well, वो भी काफी दिखता है. So how would you compare like these four in terms of quality, pricing, or and it seems like you're a fan of Bangladesh.
I'm not a fan of Bangladesh. I think Bangladesh is our closest competitor, which is why I keep a
Mm.
very close eye on them as a country. Our closest competitor, and a lot of the fabric, because we sell fabric as well, and a lot of the fabric we sell goes into Bangladesh.
Mm.
And I think they've just economically they've done a very decent job of positioning themselves in the garment business, right? And I think so I'll to answer your question and then add a little bit more to it. I think India is, because of their cotton and because of how their cotton is, India is very focused on the bedsheet side of things, because their
Mm.
cotton is longer and staple. So they're able to make stronger yarn for cheaper, which is why they're able to able to do really well in that side of the business. Pakistan is very good in coarse count yarns, so thicker yarns. So denim becomes Pakistan's key strength. Bangladesh doesn't have their own cotton, and so they actually, Bangladesh started backwards, right? They started with the garment industry and then put up fabric mills, and now are putting up spinning mills and have put up spinning mills, and so they've actually, and Pakistan's going the opposite route because we had our own cotton. So Bangladesh is good at a little bit of everything because they have cheap labor,
Mm.
right? And because of that cheap labor, they're able to do from a quality perspective. Right, from a quality perspective, I feel Pakistan has a little bit more know-how, but Bangladesh isn't far behind. Right, Bangladesh is also getting that know-how. Bangladesh is cheaper. I think Pakistan is a little bit higher quality. That gap is going down. India is a different product. Vietnam is also a slightly different product. You can buy denim out of Vietnam. There's some really, really, really good factories in Vietnam. But Vietnam is also more into shoes, for example, right? Into a slightly different product category. So in this denim category, denim isn't the proper way to describe it. In the bottoms, fashion bottoms category, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think it's Pakistan and Bangladesh are the key players in this part of the world.
सो अली बांग्लादेश से हमारे ऑब्वियसली अभी इनकी थोड़ा 1-2 साल पहले थे इनकी गवर्नमेंट चेंज हुई थी और इस गवर्नमेंट से हमारे काफी फेवरेबल रिलेशंस हैं इंडिया से हमारा कोई ट्रेड नहीं है सो डू यू थिंक लाइक फेवरेबल रिलेशंस बिटवीन कंट्रीज आल्सो हेल्प्स ओवरऑल ट्रेड एंड ओवरऑल एक्सपोर्ट्स फ्रॉम पाकिस्तान और इंडिया से ना
Definitely.
ट्रेड होने की क्या नुकसानात हैं और बांग्लादेश से आई एम नॉट श्योर पहले होता था नहीं होता था बट आई थिंक अब हो रहा है तो इसके क्या फायदे हो रहे
So, Bangladesh, even when our relationships were not so good, right?
हैं
It was difficult to go to, but
हम्म
there were always ways to go. Right.
ठीक
So
है
if you had the if one of the garment factories, one of the large garment factories in Bangladesh wanted you to come, they had their ways and they had their connections in the government to get you a visa to come into Bangladesh. Trade was always happening, right? So trade never stopped. Uh, and they realized the government was very smart in realizing this, that we don't like Pakistan so much, but we also can't survive without Pakistan. So we're still going to trade with Pakistan, and they continue to trade with Pakistan, and that never went away. Now with favorable relationships, we're able to travel there more, and we're able to grow that more, and that
and
definitely helps.
learn more at the same
And
time as
learn
well
more and collaborate more. You see, fundamentally, what's very important to keep in mind between India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh is that we're the same people. We've got the same culture, we've got the same mindset, we've got the same thinking. It's very easy for us to collaborate together, and very easy to sort of work together to grow. We've done it for a long time. And in general, having trade increases access to raw material. We are slightly less competitive in the bed sheets today, in the fine count business today, because we don't have access to Indian cotton. Right, so then we have to go for the Giza cottons of the world, the Pima cottons of the world,
Mm,
which makes it more expensive, and we,
yeah.
we compete less. Right, so trade, having access to global raw materials, certainly helps. And then especially when it's your neighbors, when it's literally a truck across, right, when it's practically local, right,
And you live in
that's a
Lahore, so there's this Wagah border there.
yeah. And we used to buy a lot of yarn from India. We used to buy a
Yeah.
lot of yarn from India. We used to sell a lot of fabric to India when trade was allowed.
Hmm.
And so it was two ways. In fact, if I look at our net trade, me as a company, when we were able to trade with India, the net relationship, we used to export more than we used to import from India as a
Hmm.
company. Right. So restrictive trade policy never helps anyone. But it's
Hmm.
it's just bad for both. But then politics gets in the way, and elections get in the way in Pakistan, in India, and emotions get in the way, and then logic just fades away,
Sadly.
unfortunately.
अच्छा Ali, थोड़ी रिटेल की बात करनी है मुझे, and I know for a fact that you are not involved in retail, but मैं थोड़े बहुत सवाल पूछ लेता हूँ अगर आपको आंसर्स हो. So कुछ सालों में, I would say maybe in the last 10 years, या मुझे शायद थोड़ा और पहले या थोड़ा जल्दी, हमने एक बड़ा पाकिस्तान में टेक्सटाइल रिटेल का बूम देखा. ठीक है. आई थिंक इट स्टार्टेड विद द लाइक्स ऑफ खाड़ी, देन निशाद, देन सफायर, एंड देन लाइक गुल अहमद, और काफी ज्यादा सारे आ गए, लाइक टॉप प्लेयर्स आ गए. Me personally, I did not know what Sapphire was until I saw that store in Dortmund Mall or anywhere else. So firstly, I think retail का तो ये बहुत बड़ा फायदा हुआ all these companies को, कि यार एक सबको पता चल गया कि यार ये एक बहुत बड़ी ब्रांड है जो एग्जिस्ट करती है पाकिस्तान में, राइट. बट नाउ अभी there's this Dortmund mall जो अभी लाहौर में खुला है, ठीक है. I went there, massive Sapphire store, a massive like Hardy store. Do the economics make sense? Or are these just those flagship stores so that you can create that brand awareness?
The economics make sense,
Mm-hmm.
right? Even though I'm not involved in the business directly.
Mm-hmm.
My cousin looks after that side of the business, but I do speak to him about it regularly.
Mm-hmm.
The economics as a brand overall. Now, without getting
Mm-hmm.
into detail on store economics, the as a brand, the businesses are financially viable. They're doing well. They're growing. We do have a massive population, and that massive population is helping boost that consumerism. That consumerism exists.
But
Right?
Ali,
So there
but
is that
what
place
about
for.
that purchasing power? Because I mean, the Sapphire pricing or whatever, like the Cardi pricing or the Nishad pricing, that's towards the upper end, right? Like how many people can actually afford that in Pakistan? Maybe the top 5% in Pakistan. Correct
So
me if
you'd
I'm
be
wrong.
you you'd be surprised, right? That affordability is there. That affordability is quite widespread. Especially, okay, when you go very rural, it's not there. But there is, when even today when you go out on a weekend in Lahore. I can only talk about Lahore, but that consumerism exists. People are still spending, and that's a function of our large population.
Mm-hmm.
That even if it's a small percentage, that large base, that large population still allows us to grow. Now, a lot of these brands are all of these brands that you mentioned are all Eastern wear focused.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what their focus has been. And only more recently have we started to see some brands starting to dabble into Western wear, and they're starting to do better and better. But I think given exactly what you just said, cost. Every time that I've looked at the numbers to start making our own denim brand in Pakistan, right? The pricing just seems too high to me. If the product that I would want to make and I would want to put out there is something that I'd buy from anywhere else in the world. The
But
problem with
Ali,
that
just
product
say,
is
Ali, sorry, just interrupting you. I know for a fact that you guys export to the likes of Zara and Levi. आप अपनी denim बना के उनको बेचते हैं, ठीक है. मेरा यही सवाल था, and maybe it's pricing, but अब जैसे जारा, एक मैं नंबर एग्जांपल लेता हूँ, जारा $50 की पैंट बेचता है, आई एम नॉट श्योर आपको कितने की पड़ती है, ठीक है, बट आई एम श्योर जारा उस पे 1000 टाइम्स प्रीमियम करके ना बेचता होगा बिकॉज उसका नाम है, ठीक है, बट कैन सफायर नॉट बिल्ड a global sapphire denim brand? I think I'm not sure what the economics are, but it just seems like a really good idea.
So if I sell a garment taking generic pricing, right? If I sell a garment on for say $9-10, right? Let's say
Mm-hmm.
$10 to make the math easier. 280 का आप dollar
Mm-hmm.
ले लें तो
ठीक है.
2,800 rupees, right? Is what my cost for a garment is, right? I need to make a certain minimum size
Mm-hmm.
for me to achieve this cost. If I make less pieces,
Mm-hmm.
my cost goes up. If I use a lower cost manufacturer, if I don't manufacture it myself because मेरी cost ज़्यादा है and I use a lower cost manufacturer, I compromise on quality,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's a little bit of that vicious circle. अगर वो 2,800 रुपए की मेरी cost है, मुझे 5,000 रुपए की बेचनी होगी अपना overhead absorb करने के लिए, design overhead absorb करने के लिए, and I just feel that's hitting the upper end of where we need to be, right? So for me, the ideal price of a jean in Pakistan should be around that 3,500 rupee mark, right? And I feel that's where we struggle, that we've just become too expensive.
But only you're selling that as a premium jean, right? I mean, let's say जो जो लड़कियों के लॉन्च में मिलते हैं, ठीक है, वो भी आई थिंक अब 2-3 हजार के तो नहीं है, वो भी अब upwards towards 5,000 ही होंगे. So and अभी I was in Pakistan, I went to Outfitters, वहाँ पे jeans 8-9 हजार रुपए की है. Outfitters is one of the most popular men brand in Pakistan, I would say, ठीक है, because जो सारी हैं सारी mostly cater to the फीमेल जेंडर, ठीक है, और ये भी मुझे लगता है, मैं पाकिस्तान में मॉल गया, लड़कों के लिए तो कोई कपड़े ही नहीं है, ट्रस्ट में कोई ब्रांड ही नहीं है, सिर्फ लड़कियों के लिए कपड़े. तो I think Sapphire B. I mean, if you guys export to Zara, I would want, yeah, I don't want to pay $50 for a Zara jean. I would likely pay 5,000 rupees for a Sapphire jean if it's the same quality.
So I'll answer that in two parts, right? Number one,
ठीक है.
if from my perspective, if you ask me the
Mm-hmm.
question, if I go to Outfitters or वहाँ 8-9 हजार रुपए की jean है, I can buy a jean at Zara for 8,000 rupees, 7,000 rupees,
Correct.
right? If you could convert it, right? So, and I know, and I at Zara as a little bit of trust value, Outfitters doesn't have that level of trust. I'm not saying Outfitters is a bad brand, but Zara is
Mm-hmm.
Zara, for
Correct.
example. Levi's is
Yeah.
Levi's, right? A Gap is Gap,
Yeah.
right? So when you buy from those larger brands, if you're able to hit the same price point, at a global level, what incentivizes me to buy from a local brand, from let's say Sapphire, as opposed to that for the local Pakistani consumer, different story. A lot of people don't have access to those brands, which is why they would buy from that, right? So where do we fit in from that pricing perspective, right? There. That being said, in the background, we are working as a team, right, to do something in the
Mm-hmm.
denim space. I treat that purely as a hobby project, right? I don't know yet what the business viability around that is. I don't know whether we can grow. I don't know how big it can be. But because we do have access to that product, because we do have access to that, it's something that we do want to explore. It's just about finding the right. We have been dabbling in it for the last year or so. I've been trying to convince my younger brother to
Mm-hmm.
get into it. He's not. He's actually the least convinced of us in this. So we're still.
He probably just wants to
We
wear a Zara jean, not a Sapphire jean, I think.
Yeah, that's him. He's very no nonsense. So getting him on board on hobby projects like this is a little bit hard. So that's what
But
I'm
Ali,
trying to convince him these days.
but Ali, why do you think like Pakistan has been unable to produce a global brand? कोई भी हो, कोई भी चीज हो, किसी भी चीज में नहीं है. एक एग्जांपल है,
Um,
एक एग्जांपल है रिसेंटली, so there's this e-commerce giant called क्या नाम था, नाम भूल गया मैं. What was the name?
Utopia.
Utopia, correct, Utopia. अगर आप देखें पिछले 10 सालों में जो उनकी जो ग्रोथ हुई है, आई थिंक इट हैज बीटन लाइक द टॉप लेगेसी कंपनीज इन पाकिस्तान इन टर्म्स ऑफ एक्सपोर्ट्स. आज वो नॉर्थ अमेरिका, यूरोप में नंबर 1 ट्रेंडिंग पे इन बेड लिनेंस, लाइक हर चीज में, ठीक है. सो अच्छा, सो फर्स्ट डू यू थिंक Sapphire and other legacy companies in Pakistan missed that opportunity, or was that something that you guys never cared about or thought about?
You see, I think what Utopia did Utopia and the likes of Utopia did very well was that they've identified this niche. It's not really a niche anymore, but at the time it was a niche. This online, this e-commerce, Amazon platform, really, really early, and was able to capitalize on it. There's a very big difference between the fashion industry and the and the bedwear industry.
Mm-hmm.
Most people, you may know, but most people won't know. If you ask me today, what brand of the bedsheet that I'm sleeping on, what brand is it? I don't know. I don't care. But at the same time, if I ask you today, what brand clothes are you wearing today, you know exactly what you're wearing. You know
Yeah.
exactly where you bought it from, when you bought it. But you don't really care that much about your bedsheet. It's soft, it's good quality, it'll last longer. So you're not. That's not really brand focused, right? तो आपका जो ये fashion में, right? That early mover, ये जो, the likes of the Zaras of the world, the Levi's of the
Mm-hmm.
world, the Gaps, the Lees, the Wranglers, especially in the denim space. मैं denim के
Mm-hmm.
example ज़्यादा दे रहा हूँ because that's the industry I'm familiar with. But they've existed well before Pakistani. Right, so they have that early movers. If you look at the denim landscape, right, the pure denim landscape. Let's not even talk about Zara because Zara is not a pure denim player; they're a fashion player. You look at all of these brands actually stem out from the US. All of
Mm-hmm.
these the hardcore the US and then Japan even. Right, but those
Mm-hmm.
are like वो उनका नाम बना हुआ है from for so long that breaking into that space is really hard. When I got into this in the garment business in 2019, my one of my closest friends in university, he was sourcing things from China and selling them on Amazon. And he said, he called me and he said, like, can we explore this together? And we explored it. And he sort of did a little bit of a study for me on how well he thinks it'll do. And the problem that we faced was that the pricing that the Levi's of the world, the Lees of the world, the Wranglers of the world were doing on Amazon were just so competitive with that brand. So if I have the same price or even $3 or $4 cheaper than Levi's or cheaper than Lee or cheaper than Wrangler, how do I compete? Why will someone pay me $3 less or $5 less? Well, I'll pay $5 more and buy a Levi's jean. So I think it makes it very difficult in that space to compete on a global scale. That being said, you've seen players like Zara enter later on. They've become giants later on. They're fashion players, and they've done well. That's not to say that we can't do it. That's not to say
Mm-hmm.
that it can't be done, and that's not to say that we shouldn't do it. Which is why my small hobby project comes up in the background. Which is why that's something we want to explore. I think there is definitely scope. I think there is definitely space in Pakistan, but that's why it hasn't gone global. To answer another one of your questions built in, that why haven't Pakistani brands grown to that level? And I think fundamentally it's the lack of access to capital. Right? It's the lack of access to capital. And this is not just speaking about textile. Right? This is speaking about everything. Right? This is speaking about the reason Pakistani companies have not been able to go international at that scale, at that level, is simply the lack of access to capital. In
And
fashion,
what about
it's not.
what about the willingness? Do you think there is willingness,
I think there's enough companies in Pakistan who want to go big. There's enough companies in Pakistan who want to grow. It's
especially the
just
newer
that
generation, I assume, who
yeah,
are looking to grow?
the newer generation. You look at the Ambanis of the world. You look at the Reliances of in India. They are international. They have been able to go international. Right? They're able to raise from. They're able to. Their access to capital is very different. They're able to. They have international banking relations. They have access to international capital markets. And in Pakistan, there's very few companies at that scale. There are a few, but there's very few companies at that scale who are able to access those international capital markets. But then you take that to the fashion micro universe. There's no there's no brands from the region that have really gone international. There's no one from Bangladesh that's gone international. There's no
Mm-hmm.
one from India that's gone international. You're only just starting to see some Chinese brands go international. So it's just that these Western brands are so old and so established, and they have so much brand equity that they're just competing with them on a global scale becomes very hard. But that doesn't mean we can't establish something local.
Mm. Well, Ali, what is one thing that you think that Sapphire does better than everything else, and what is one thing that you think Sapphire should do better than everyone else?
That's a very difficult question to answer in terms of what we do, what we do better than everything else. I think I'll talk about myself of how I like to do things, right? Of how I like to run the company. Number one, I feel that we are a family first, not just us, the family, even the people who work within the team, right? The people who work with us are practically fully empowered to run the business however they want to run the business. The all of our people, most of our people, other than the newer businesses like the garment making business, for example, the guy who looks after sales for me, he's been with us since 2001. It was his first job. He's been with me in the business. He's been in the business longer than I have been in the business, so he understands the business perhaps even better than me. Right? So the people, our people treat the businesses like their own, and they are the ones who drive this business forward, right? So we're a family. We operate as a family, and I think that gives us a big edge. That's not to say our competitors are not doing that, but that's something that we are doing. The other way that I like to run the business, and I keep imparting this on our team, is that whenever you look at a horse race, you see these flaps around the horse's eyes. Okay, well, left, you can't look left, right
Mm.
to what the other guys are doing. I don't like to look left, right. I don't like to look at what my competitors are doing. I don't like to that jealousy bogs you down. That if someone else is doing poorly, um, I don't really, it doesn't really impact me. It shouldn't really impact me. I feel bad for them, but at the same time, we just need to look down, focus on our own strategy, focus on our own race, and just run forward. And I think that's what drives us, and I think that's what makes us who we are. Um, uh, we are uh, uh, we are a family business. I don't like to think of us as a family business. I like to think of us as somewhere in the middle, between a corporate entity that has its systems in place, that's able to grow, that has that accountability, but then at the same time we don't want to lose our family roots, because I think that's our identity and that's our DNA.
Interesting. Ali, talking to you just feels so inspiration because there are like often many cases where if you're coming from a wealthy family, जो like the kids, वो हमेशा like थोड़ा इधर-उधर हो जाते हैं. But like looking at you and like how well you have managed everything, it just feels like यार it's just so inspirational because like for example, and इतने सारे हमने cases सुने हैं. So what inspires you to just work hard?
I think it's always been the what we get from our parents and grandparents, that nothing, take nothing for granted,
Mm,
that everything you need to earn, everything you need to work for, and everything is uh, nothing's for free, right? So
mm,
when we were growing up, right, we were never really exposed to the business. We never really knew what we have in the background, right? We never really knew what the safety net is. We never really knew, money wasn't really or how much we earn wasn't really a subject. It was more of how much we spend and how to control that, right? So we were never really felt like, oh, we are a large business family, we run our own business. So we never really got that as we were growing up, and I think that's uh, allowed us to learn the value of hard work, and
mm,
to learn the value of sort of putting that in. So for us, everything we do, we need to earn. So when
That
I took over, even going on to an earlier question of yours, when I came into the business, started low, but eventually grew pretty fast. The team, I picked people from within the team to grow. They're my picks, right? And because I worked alongside them, because they are the people who taught me. I know them well, and they know me well, because they taught me, and so I know what their strengths are. They know what my strengths are, right? So that, and because I've worked shoulder to shoulder with them, it just brings that extra element of camaraderie.
Got it. No, that is very inspiring. Really, we have exceeded the 1 hour 10 minute mark, and I just have two more questions for you before I let you go.
Sure.
बड़े interesting सवाल है. So every year there's this massive sapphire sale. Retail की बात कर रहा हूँ मैं, ठीक है? And we see कि यार the ladies they just barge in और वीडियोस वायरल होती हैं और लड़ रहा है कोई लड़ रहा है किसी ने इसको मार दिया मुझे ये लॉन्च चाहिए मुझे ये चाहिए. Firstly, is this planned? Secondly,
Okay.
does this no, okay. So does this do more harm than benefit? Because इतनी वीडियोस वायरल होती हैं, right? So एक ब्रांड की जो इमेज होती है, लाइक लोग बोल रहे होते हैं दिस कुड हैव बीन मैनेज्ड बेटर बिकॉज अब लेट्स से वेस्ट में देयर इज दिस बॉक्सिंग डे सेल वेयर everyone's waiting outside of stores and they let you one by one and right like you wait for your turn, there's a limit in the store, you go one by one. Here everyone goes in at once and we know what's gonna happen और जो हम देखते हैं वही होता है, ठीक है? ऐसा क्यों होता है? हर साल ऐसा ही होता है.
You see, it's never planned, right?
Okay.
It's we obviously always want our customers to have a pleasant experience walking into the store. But I think Uswat, at that moment, there's just so many people, and it's just become so overwhelming at the time. And then there's just some bad element somewhere that creates an issue, and then it just gets out of hand, right? It's very managed in a lot of places, but even in the Western world, things do get out of hand sometimes. You have bad elements everywhere, and we try our best to manage it, and we do our best to keep things in control because we obviously want everybody walking into a Sapphire store to have a pleasant experience. But ho jata hai. When you I'll give you an example. When you go to buy an iPhone online on launch day, so Apple's website crashes. It used to
Yeah.
crash, right? So
Yeah.
वो अभी भी you're not let in immediately. Right, so to date, they struggle. For them, a pleasant experience is that you 10 बजे अगर sale खुलनी है, you log into
Mm.
the website and you're able to immediately place an order, but you're still not able to, and that's Apple, right? So even that's not the most pleasant of experiences. Not a directly related example, but they try to open the store to as many people as soon as possible.
But Ali, I'll give you
Right?
an
But
example. So when iPhone 10 was launched, so I was in Canada and I was there at 10 p.m. I got my phone at 8 a.m. हम सारे line लगा के बैठे हुए थे. So इस तरह का honestly कुछ नहीं होता.
but yeah, so that's Apple. They're very organized. They've learned with time.
Okay.
But I've had my fair share of bad experiences standing in
No,
Apple
sure. Yeah.
lines
Yeah.
prior to the iPhone 10. But it happens. It happens. It's something we don't like. It's something that we try and put systems around. But we're not fundamentally built for that one day of sales, and it's a little bit of it's a lot of training that goes into the team. It's a lot of
Mm.
we need to work to make that experience better for everybody and try and avoid those mishaps.
And Ali, is that sale primarily to just clear out the older inventory? Like इस तरह की sale साल में I think या एक दफा होती है दो दफा होती है, correct me if I'm wrong. But is that primarily to just clear out the old stock और नया season आ रहा है तो नया stock आना?
It's a little bit of both. It's always a little bit of both. Where it's to clear out stock. It's to allow. It's to increase turnover. It's to allow more access to the brand, right? To make it more widespread. So it's a little bit of both. I think the way it's evolved over the years is that, and this is not just for Sapphire. This is for every brand in the world, where the sale is part of a very core part of the strategy as a brand promotion, because that's when you get a lot of your promotion. In fact, we do some garment customers today in the denim space where वो जो price label है उसके नीचे जो दो prices होती हैं, एक नीचे sticker होता है, एक ऊपर sticker होता है, so that when they put their sale on, they can just peel off the sticker and have the lower price over there. That happens, right?
Yeah.
So now sale is not just inventory clearing. Of course, it's inventory clearing, but it's also part of strategy.
Okay. And Ali, what's that one piece of advice that you like to give? Let's say people who are students who are graduating, let's say this year or like in the next few years. What's that one piece of advice that you'd actually like to give them? Ki, yaar, follow this. Whether you're getting into the family business or you want to be an entrepreneur or you want to start a startup or you want to enter the corporate world, what's that one thing that you should do to be successful?
A couple of things that I follow, right, that I feel have
Mm-hmm.
helped me move forward. Number one, I would say is stay humble, right, and don't be afraid to take risks.
Mm-hmm.
Right, I didn't take that risk when I picked McGill for the business side of the things. But what I've learned over the years now is that if you don't take that risk, if you don't take that step forward, it's very you won't get anywhere. Right? So
Mm-hmm.
thoda sa, you need to step out of your comfort zone a little bit. You need to take that risk, and it's very, very, very important to stay humble. It's your relationships, it's your people, it's the people around you that will move you forward. You are
Mm-hmm.
nothing alone. And if you're not humble, if you don't have that support of that support structure around you, you can't grow and you can't get anywhere in life.
Mm-hmm. No, that's amazing. And Ali, I think you forgot one thing. Wake up early because you wake up at 6 every single day. So jaldi utna hai, early to bed, early to rise, and makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. And I'm
That
sure you follow this.
I would love to. The reason I don't give that as advice because I would love to sleep in. I would love to wake up later, but it's just something I can't do. So I wake up early and it does add more productive hours to the day. I can't deny that. So it does help me in that. But I would love on occasion to sleep in, but I just can't. I just don't have it in me.
Amazing. I hope I learned something from you, at least the number third part. But Ali, thank you very much. It was very inspiring, and I really hope that you keep making Pakistan proud. And yeah, thank you so much for joining, and for the audience. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. Any concerns, questions, feedback, comment section is really likhe, and please subscribe and stay tuned for the next episode.